see them here so you could see it. So the one thing in Portal 2 that Portal 1 didn't have was these rat holes. Portal 1 was very linear in that sense, was that it wasn't very open. There wasn't much that you could go through and explore. And in Portal 2, they really played that up. And that's the one thing with puzzle games and narrative games like this, is that you really got to play up your mechanics. You got to really it's not really, I kind of say overdo it, but you got to kind of overdo it. And it's like, if you're using something, you don't only use it once. You should be using it often. And so like with Portal, you're always using the portals, so everything needs to be focused around those portals. And they play up the mechanics of the portals, and that's what everything they're teaching you. And everything else complements the portals. So everything we do in this game is going to be based around portals. Kind of makes sense. And the way that they do this is, there's only so much that mechanics will carry you through on that, so they start getting a little weird with the level design.
Meteorites, or other objects from space.
Now there is one thing that I know that they don't, that I think they only do once, and we won't cover it here. Yeah, and I know that there's one thing that they do for certain that I don't think. Yeah, I don't think they do it anywhere else in this game. So there is one technical mechanic that they do that we won't cover, and that is moving portals. That is something that they're able to use, but we only ever use them once. And I think that's really kind of one of the detracting things of this game, is it's like, this would be really cool if we could have movable portals. You could do so much with the level design, and making it so like if you fire a portal and then it has to move over, and then you have to do a bunch of stuff to move it over. There's a lot of things you could do with that, but they only ever used it once. Alright, so let's just go up, and then we pop this. Oops, alright, that one. So, as now that I've got all of that out of the way, we should probably start talking about the structure of what makes a good puzzle level. Because puzzles are basically, you're trying to solve a solution within a set amount of constraints, and that kind of adds to the game of it. There's only so much you can do, like I said, with the mechanics, and you need to structure levels in such a way so that you can have these goals that the player sees, and they know this is what they have to achieve. And with puzzles, and I keep saying that over and over again, but it's like with puzzle games, you got to be very clear about what these goals are, because if you don't, the player goes in and they you have all these rules, but they don't know how to use them, and they don't know what they need. And so basically what a puzzle is in the level structure, you need to start off with a few pieces and a goal, or many pieces and like a big piece of the puzzle and not a goal. And from there, you then design the level in a way that it kind of helps explain the rest of the puzzle. So they start filling in the missing pieces, just like an actual jigsaw puzzle. So we'll do this. And so this is going to be the first thing that we see when we come into this level. And we can't actually see the goal from here. We have no idea where the goal is from anywhere down in this little hole here in any of the starting areas that we start in. But we do see, via lighting and kind of this juxtaposition of color, is the white-orange portal up against this dark black non-portable material. We can't actually fire portals onto that. So we know that we need to use this portal. So alright, so we know that's going to be important. And that's about all we know right now. So if we pop this portal open, we can now see the rest of the thing that we need. And it's a very quick and simple thing here. But, oh, hello. It's very quick and simple, but this does two things. One, we immediately see that we need to use this portal, and that we see that it's there. This is a pretty high up portal, and players usually do not look up in games. I challenge you, when was the last time you actually looked up in a video game? The answer is probably not recently. So we see this portal, and our eyes are drawn there. We see the shadows coming from this, the way that this is framed, the way that the lighting is. This is all stuff that level designers have to look at, on top of environmental artists, because remember that everyone works in concert when designing levels. And so we see this is something that we need to be using, and that they establish that right off. And so we know that it's there. And my guess is probably when they designed a puzzle like this, they probably had a lot of playtesters who just came in and didn't see that it was there, and they would have missed some stuff. And hey, Clobro, what's up? So they do something a little tricky here, which is we know that we have to go through here to get out of this. Like, we cannot get out of this puzzle. We can't see anything else from in here. Kind of see a little bit of stuff over there. But from here, we have to go through that orange portal. And so now we see the rest of the puzzle. And now we're like, oh, okay. There's our goal. There's the box. There's the button. This button has to go to that thing. Now we know exactly what we need to do. So we were given something that we probably would have missed, that portal, and then we're given a nice big picture of it, and we're only given it once until we actually go through and, like, do it again. So we can always refer back to it. But in this case, we missed it, or we wouldn't have missed it in this case. So now we see everything. So when you're designing levels for portal or for puzzles, you want to make sure that the objective and pieces of that objective are clearly outlined. So now we know our goal is we have to get on top of this little thing right here. We have to get on top of the this platform that I'm right next to and get this cube. And to do that, we see these little icons that we get, and these are from the original portal. We're still in some of the original portal stuff. So this is something called flinging. This is a purely portal mechanic, and something that you absolutely would have to teach. And so this is what they're doing here, is that they're teaching us how to do flinging. And now we can't actually get down there, but we can use this. And we just shoot a portal underneath it. So now we know we can shoot portals through objects, and how it's kind of reinforcing how everything works. And then we come back here again. And now we have to fling again, which is actually a little bit harder this time around, because we are now carrying something, so we cannot actually shoot with the portal. Hi, Loki. It's my cat, our new cat. Decided to come over and say hello. So this does two things. It teaches us how to do flinging. It teaches us how to do flinging at a very, you want to come up? At a very simple, controlled manner, and now we learn how to do it a little bit more advanced.
If you are a non-employee who has discovered this facility amid the ruins of civilization, welcome.
I forget if there's a way to get up there, but
testing is the
since we only have one
and
portal right now, we
Aperture
can't really go
starts
that
with
far.
You.
Hey. We just got this cat on Saturday, so she's still adjusting to her new home. If she jumps up on my lap, I'll show everybody her. She's gorgeous. All right, so what were we just talking about? Goal. We know that we need to get this box over here, and if we'll just take a look at from without even moving, first thing we see when we walk in. You gonna come up? You wanna come up? I'll move out of the way for you. We see the goal. We see that there's something over there, and that looks like a button, and we see the little button mark. So we know we have to get a cube over there, and we see the cube. All right, so now we know exactly what's needed to basically achieve our goal. And my cat's now walking on my desk. Everyone, take a quick break here. Say hello to my cat. Yes, the cube fell down as you entered. So that's another thing that you see, which is animation is a great way to animation and motion is a great way to draw players' attention. That changing colors, sirens are kind of a good example of that. Like on police sirens, the reason that they're not just a solid tone is because the body doesn't actually sense, like, if you just play a solid tone, like, you're gonna drown that out. That gets lost. But if it's modulating, then you're more likely to pick it up. And so we see the portal all the way down there, harkening back to the flinging we were just doing. We see this very very specifically placed portable angled cat's walking around me again, angled wall. And again, we know that we've already kind of learned we can't actually hit portals on these, and that won't do much. So we know from the last puzzle that we just did that we're going to be able to fling ourselves, and that's what we have to do here. So we'll do that, and it's placed in such a way that we overshoot the block, or the cube, and then we have to come down and actually pick it up. And so now here's the thing. It's like, so we just saw what we just did, because we had the fling, and now we have to basically do it ourselves. And this is where we get to explore and experiment a little bit. Where'd you go? There you are. This is where we get to explore and experiment a little bit more, where we know that we have to be down there, and we're given this wall of portal stuff. So we can do this little one here and see what that does. But more likely, we're probably going to need to go up higher. So if they had given us, they're basically giving us options here on what we can actually do, but we're still giving freedom because we can do it there, we can do it there, we can still try there, and all these other different places. And we'll just fling ourselves around. And we know that the button was here from earlier. And I place the button, and now we can see this. And we're like, all right, cool. So now we have to fling ourselves one more time. That is the third time in this puzzle that we flung ourselves, which means flinging is probably really important. If you remember from last week when we talked about Rise of the Tomb Raider, there is the law of threes. Basically, I think Nintendo started it, but I'm going to say that tentatively. Basically, if you want the player to remember how to do something, you have them do it 3 different times. So in this case, we have to move our portal over a little bit. And, oh no, I missed. I probably have to jump on this one. Which is probably something that they intended and I just forgot. Because we just need a little bit more love. There we go.
Good work getting this far, future starter.
Thanks, announcer voice.
In such a way that the future should
yeah, so again, we just did that 3 times, which must mean flinging is really important and we need to know that. And yeah, that's what we need to talk about for that one. Alright, so we're going to go a little bit more through these puzzles, and then we're going to jump into, I think pretty soon, we will jump into a section called The Fall. And I should say the chapter called The Fall. And this is where we start with Old Aperture.
To ensure that
and we also are going to start with, it also is a good place to show something new to Portal 1, or Portal 2, I should say. It'll show something new to Portal 1, or Portal 2, which is kind of more these open world puzzles that we only saw for about 15 minutes at the end of Portal 1. And I think they're really genius, but the design on how those are done is completely different. This game ends up going through
You did find a
3 or 4 different styles of design. You have rundown aperture, which is this one. You have cleaning up aperture, which is post GLaDOS waking up, which we'll do technically right after this. And then you have rundown aperture. You have rundown aperture.
Okay, listen, let me...
Crap, I can't remember them all. Rundown aperture, which is what we have here, or overgrown aperture. We have resetting aperture. We have clean aperture. Then we have old aperture, and then we have Wheatley aperture, which is in itself something completely different. And I don't know if we'll actually get to that today. I could boot that up. We'll see how far we get with everything.
1, 2, 3. That's high. It's too
way
high.
too high.
Isn't it, really? All right, going on 3.
So this is kind of just a narrative sticking point. The player needs to be over on this side, and sorry, my friend.
I'm not dead. I'm not dead.
The player needs to be over on this side of the wall. So the way that they had this set up is we have to fire a high portal, and once we get over here, the other portal closes. So we're stuck in this side. What do you want? You want to come up? Cat's nudging me here. And I'm sorry for anyone who's watching. Who's going to be watching this like later in the week
I'm not joking.
on the VOD, and you don't have the webcam because I'm not recording on the webcam, so you don't get to see the
All right,
cat.
you can turn around now.
Loki is doing wonderfully. She is adjusting. She's adjusting pretty all right to her new home here. She keeps me up like way too late at night.
Bam. Secret panel.
Thanks.
Right, open. While you're back with me.
Oh, and then the other one is behind the scenes aperture. So it's like 5 or 6 different styles, and each one has different puzzle designs for each one. How do I need it?
Would you pick me up?
No.
Hey, pick me up. And off we go. Look at this. No rail to tell us where to go. Oh, this is brilliant. We can go wherever we want. Just, hold on though. Where are we going? Hang on. Let me just get my bearings.
So a lot of this is just a lot of this is going back to kind of pacing and stuff. Hello. Is going back to pacing, which just kind of as a reminder, pacing is
Yes. Hello. No, stopping. Don't make eye contact.
the rate at which a player moves through a level. So we want to go through. Wheatley has a bunch of stuff to say, and we need to establish some story stuff. So in this case, we have we go through this back area, which kind of doesn't have a puzzle to it, but it's walking. But the purpose of it is to establish story, and to establish a bit of a background, and to let Weekly just talk our ears off. And then your standard loading zone. Hello, Loki. You want to say hello to everybody? Nope, there's the cat. Everyone say hello to Loki.
Probably ought to bring you up to speed on something right now. In order to escape, we're going to have to go through her chamber, and she will probably kill us if she's awake. If you want to just call it quits, and we could just sit here
Jump off.
forever,
Oh, no,
that's
you're
an
still
option. Option A, sit
right
here,
behind
do
my head.
nothing. Option B, go through there, and if she...
All right, so this is we're gonna end this section of portals of our portal level design
I'm
after
going to lay the
this,
cards on the table. I don't want to do it. I don't want to go in there. Don't go
because
in
this
there.
is a big,
Which is off.
just kind of a structural point thing that I want to kind of quickly cover. Is we walk in here, and we see the remnants of the battle zone that we had with GLaDOS at the end of Portal 1. This was her big chamber. This is a big chamber. The biggest thing we had seen so far. And it's chaotic. Like right now there's really no there really is no like architectural lines going anywhere. So we don't know where to look. We just know, oh, that's GLaDOS right there.
I know. I wouldn't have believed either. Apparently this human escaped and nobody's
And
seen
it's,
him since.
to me, that was kind of
where,
intentionally done.
Absolutely nothing happened. And then there's us escaping now.
As
so,
a way
that's pretty much the whole story,
to
up to speed.
kind of show that places like
Okay,
this place
down these
is
stairs.
in complete disarray,
Jump!
and
Look at it, that is
and
quite a-
so
that's quite a distance, isn't it?
absolutely no order whatsoever
Okay,
since
you
she
know
left,
what?
and so everything's
Go
just
ahead and
falling
jump.
apart, and that's
Go
what
on,
that's what
brace
you've
your
kind of been
legs.
learning
So-
through the entirety of this.
Oh, still held, still being held. That's a great.
For those who
If
haven't
I
played this
grit,
game
we're all
before, and if
fine.
you're
That's
curious as to
tremendous.
if there's fall damage, the answer is no. We instead we have these things called long fall boots. They're like big giant go-go boots
This is the
that
main breaker
we get to
room.
hold, that
Look
we
for a switch that says escape pod.
that we wear
Right,
that
don't touch anything
prevent
else.
fall damage.
Not interested in anything else. Don't touch anything else. Don't even look at anything else. Just, well, obviously you've got to look at everything else to find the escape pod. But as soon as you look at something and it doesn't say escape pod, look at something else. Look at the next thing. All right, but don't touch anything else or look at anything. Well, look at other things, but don't. You understand? Can you see it anywhere? I can't see it anywhere.
And this is so this is something that I find Portal and TF2 do this type of style of thing
Let there be light.
really well, and they really play it up, which is the complete over-the-topness. Like,
Turning.
this is
Probably fine.
completely over top. You do not need this many switches in a single breaker room ever. Not all of them need to be turned on, and this is kind of one of those things that is very, very like I don't want to say Valve style, but it's very it's when I think of Valve, I think of styles that are completely over the top, realistic, but completely exaggerated on what they need. And TF2 does this really well. I mean, TF2 is built around that entire idea. And Portal does that too, because their characters who are behind all this are very very over-the-top personalities, like Cave Johnson, who we will be introduced to here. Well, technically we're already introduced to him, but we'll learn about Cave Johnson once we hit the fall.
It's you.
You know her?
It's been a long time. How have you been? I've been really
Apparently, the rendering of the animation of GLaDOS waking up here took like the equivalent of, I think, like 9 months or many years worth of rendering time, but they have a big giant rendering farm that made that a little bit quicker.
But I think we can put our differences behind us. For science. You monster.
Wandered away.
I will say, though, that since you went to all the trouble of waking me up, you must really, really love to test. I love it too.
So we're not going
There's
to play
just
through
one
after this
small
part. We're going to
thing
jump to the
take
fall,
care
like I
of
said.
first.
I just felt like this was a pretty good transition point. So basically what's happening now is we just woke up GLaDOS, and she's going to start putting the Aperture test chambers together. The ones that we had just went through, we're going to be going through those, and we are going to be going through those as they're being rebuilt. And there's a bit of they have their own style in terms of level design for that. But I want to jump ahead here to oh, and we also pick up the proper portal gun, the dual portal gun, down there. So we're gonna jump now to the fall.